I'm Travis.
And I'm Abby.
9 years ago, I crashed my motorcycle and everything changed.
All of the injuries eventually healed, except for the concussion.
Abby was my physical therapist, and today we're talking about things that we wish we knew then.
From what was missed on the healthcare side, to the unfiltered stories about the realities of healing after a concussion.
Listen to our stories and be part of our adventures.
First thing we started off with was just some isolated training of your eye movement that would allow us to challenge accuracy in the intended visual fields. So we were, after seeing your tracings and kind of figuring out where we were going to start, we wanted to have your right eye pursuits improve so that way we could build upon a good foundation of accurate eye movement.
Okay.
So we put you back in the VR headset so that way I could see your eyes moving out of the selected planes. So I had him do both left-handed quadrants, but for his right eye it would be the medial side, and then a lower part as well. So what Travis saw on his side was a target that was kind of making this sweeping motion, like as if it were on a clock. It was going between like a, let's see if it was the right side going to the middle. So like it would almost be like it was going from like 4 o'clock up to midnight on your side, and the target was going back and forth.
Yeah.
While it was doing that, I was giving you instruction.
Oh, this hand squeezy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a gripper for you in each hand, different resistance on each side. But that way I could give you a cue and you would have a motor task. So I would tell you right squeeze, right release, or left squeeze, left release, so that way you were focusing on getting your upper body to perform something while your eyes had the job of following this sweeping pattern on the VR headset.
Yeah, which was like harder than you would think. Like that took some concentration, definitely.
Yeah. It's always so surprising that once you put two things together that otherwise in isolation are very easy, it's a lot more taxing on your brain. But the cool part is that we can see where that cueing initially makes your eyes a little bit less accurate. And then as you continue on, you build more accuracy and more success with being able to have each upper body do each limb in your upper body do something based on a cue. And then from there, we had good success, and then we made it even more complicated.
Yeah.
So do you remember what we did after that? After you had two grippers?
So then I stuck my hand in a web, and I had to rotate it, like either clockwise or counterclockwise. Mm-hmm. So that was certainly more challenging.
Because now you have two different tasks.
Yeah.
So the left hand was still doing a gripper where it would squeeze and release, and then the right hand was in this resisted web.
Right.
Where if you turned your hand out, you met resistance, or if you turned your hand in, you met resistance, but if your hand was still, there was no resistance.
Yeah.
So then you had to respond to cues of left squeeze, left release, or right in, right out. So now you're having a lot more concentration on following the directions that you're given while still having your eyes move in that plane where we wanted to improve accuracy.
Yeah, it's like one level above rubbing your head and patting your belly.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it was like, and
I think it's rub your stomach, pat your head.
Rub. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I don't think I've never been able to do that. I think there's something.
But you were able to do the
Oh,
task.
yeah, that.
I'd have you sustain the grip on the left side, have the right hand twist out, and you're able to do that while still following the target. And following the target is instinctual in a way, because you're in a VR headset, you don't see anything else.
Right.
So when your eyes see something moving, they want to follow it.
Yeah.
And then we just tamper with what we have you do and when to be able to make it challenging enough that your eyes are forced to be a little bit more engaged. And then, like I said, the intention is to build accuracy through that.
Gotcha. And what's that exercise called? It's like,
I don't know that has a name.
Oh.
It's just something I do. Like if we're trying to improve something, I want to get as much brain engagement as I can And then we want to take that engagement and make it something that flows over into a functional task. So then we moved into things that were more functional in nature, but after you were in the headset, you were experiencing almost like the concentration strain.
Yeah.
Right? Like felt like your eyes had to work hard and you had to really think more than you would expect to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So then we got out of the headset, and then I had a like this. It's like a boomerang, but it's got 3 projections out of it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a name because I was explaining this to my friends at work Monday and today, and I was trying to think of like what, and that's exactly what I said. I said it's like a boomerang with like a third part.
Spoke, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one's blue, one's red, one's yellow.
Yeah.
So there's like this center part where they all connect, where it's black in the middle, but each part where you could grab it has a color.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some videos of that up on our Instagrams and.
Yeah. And we'll put that up. So like this will be a good way to kind of talk through what we did, but we'll have the videos up on Instagram so you can see Travis in action.
Yeah.
And it's really neat to see how much he engaged and like got involved in this to make it so helpful for you. Like you were trying to do your best the entire time.
I was trying.
Yeah.
And apparently, I didn't know this, but the video where the things that were dropping and I'm catching them, right? They were dropping. And
yeah, we're gonna show that next week.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's like a trend on like Instagram or something. Like, so my friend was like, "Oh, look, that's yada yada. Like that's a big thing right now." And I'm like,
so a lot of these rehab ideas come from things that we see, like we being like on the rehab side, either through simple toys or devices that are advertised for other things, and we see an application that either is similar to what's intended or something that we can manipulate to get what we're after. So that's why it's constantly changing. That's, why I asked, like, what's the name of this? How do you do, like, what's this called? It's really just the flavor of the week.
It's like improvised.
Right, like we use, like for boxers, they use light up trainers to be able to train their reaction time. We use those things. All sorts of stuff. Like there's tons of gadgets that accomplish different things. But like I said, we'll talk about the drop sticks next time, just because that's a whole different topic, whole different category. But what we did with the boomerang, with the different colors, is now that you've had practice forcing your eyes to follow something, I want you to do that outside of the headset. And we want to do it in several different contexts. So at first, it was just, I would throw it to you, I'd say red, you had to catch red.
Yeah.
And at first, a few misses, but not bad. You caught on to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Seemed like you could track it well enough to be able to get your hand where it needed to be. We did different kind of throws. It started off with a lot of arching to the throw, so you had more time to see the color and get your hand where it needed to be. And then more direct throws, so you had less reaction time.
She was throwing it right at my head.
Yeah.
I had to dodge, and it was... No, she wasn't.
She was some Matrix stuff,
Yeah.
So you got really good at that, to the point where you were catching at least 70% of them correctly. Like, meaning not just catching it, but catching it on the color that you were told to. So then I had a laptop that was on a movable desk, and I put the laptop off to my right side so it was in your left visual field, just to the side of me. And then I had a PowerPoint on there that would alternate between the 3 colors randomly. So I had the PowerPoint advancer, and what we did at first is I would advance the color and then throw the stick so that way you had a chance to see what the color was, then find the corresponding color, follow it in, and catch it.
Oh, that was PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like, kind of like one of the, like a program.
No.
No.
That was just me copy paste slides in random order.
No, that's all
color
you.
Sequence.
Not. I thought that was like NeuroSync.
Yeah.
That was Abby Sync. That was great. Nice.
So from that, I can adjust more variables. I can adjust when you get to see the color in relationship to when I throw it.
Yeah.
So then we got to the point where I would throw the stick and switch the power point at the exact same time. So you would have to see, all right, just change to red, need to catch red in less than a second.
Yeah.
That got a little bit more challenging because it wasn't an auditory cue. You had to pay attention to multiple
things, right?
Right.
Looking out of the, and then I liked when you said, don't look directly at the screen, just catch it out of your peripheral vision. Like that actually helped me.
Yeah, so then I switched it to the other side because I wanted you to be able to build some success with it, and your left eye is a little bit more accurate. And even though we're really dialing peripheral vision there, it's still very close to your central vision. Like I didn't have it off to the side. I had it just to the side of me.
Yeah.
So again, another variable I can manipulate. How far out do I want that to be in relationship to me? So then I put it on the right side, so that way your right eye would have to be a little bit faster with integrating that information and tracking. And again, we're trying to fix pursuit, so I want you to be able to follow something as it moves. And then we did the same thing where we started off switching it, throwing it, and then switch and throw at the same time. And then, like you said, I told you, I just want you to watch this weird boomerang. And when you did that, your eyes were a lot more locked in and your accuracy was better. You were able to catch them more
consistently.
Yeah. And then all that visual information was being integrated faster. So you mentioned at the beginning that the whole point of this was to be able to improve some of your visual integration with driving.
Right.
And when you're driving, your eyes are tracking something. So whether it's another car coming towards you or a car moving adjacent to you in the same direction, your eyes are following that. And then you have other visual information that's going to come in that might require your attention. Like if somebody's turn signal goes on, that's not going to be where you're immediately paying attention to, but you need your visual field to interpret that and react to that.
Yeah.
So I was able to tie that in.
Yeah. And you know, before I crashed my bike, I always thought that I was really good at that. Like I focused a lot when I was driving. I focused on everything all the time. I've, never been in an accident, or I've always been really cautious. And I swear, this may sound conceited, but after the accident, I thought that I was normal. I was like, man, this must be how normal people see.
Oh, because you're
because I was super driver first.
Really?
But then I was like, man, this must be how normal people see. But that could be just me,
So you felt like it slowed down some of your reaction time.
Right.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now from that task, we then put you on an RX beam. So something that was a cushion that you had to keep your feet centered on.
Yeah.
While catching this and having that visual cue in the background.
Yeah.
So you were rocking back and forth if you moved your body, but still had to focus, track, and catch it. What did that feel like?
So, yeah, that was definitely a lot more work. Because my feet were... It wasn't wide enough for my entire feet, so my toes were off and my heels were off, so I was kind of going back and forth like this, and then I was kind of sunk down into it, so I had to use a lot more stabilizer muscles in my legs and kind of keep my balance and try not to roll forward, so it was definitely more challenging.
Yeah. So adds another layer to it. And in this instance, postural stability. So I put you on something that's going to challenge your balance. Now your brain has to work even harder to not fall off.
Right.
So maintain your position, still track, still be attentive to visual cues in the background, and catch what you're supposed to catch.
Yeah. And I could see how, it would be fun to increase that challenge. At first it was just stand on the ground. And then it was, stand on the...
RX. It's just like a cushion, yeah.
Stand on the cushion.
But if you call it RX, you get to charge more money for it.
Oh, RX. Nice. So, then you maybe stand on like a Bosa ball, one of those.
Yeah.
One of those things that go like this, and then maybe one of the remember pogo balls? Did you have those?
I know a pogo ball. But what even if you just had to stand on one foot?
Yeah, stand on one foot.
Yeah. Something that makes your attention involved in don't fall over, it's going to hurt, while still paying attention to everything else that's going on there.
Yeah. I could imagine standing on, because I remember like it was difficult from that. We did one sitting and then one standing, and like that was big.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of a change that makes.
Yeah.
And then once we were done with the boomerang, we then went to what's called a cue ball. And again, if you call it cue ball, you get to charge more.
Gotcha.
But we have the exact same thing. Like if I were to take a tennis ball and write various numbers all over it, it would do the exact same thing. Cue balls are meant for. Did you notice how it was an odd shape?
I described it like Dungeons and Dragons dice.
Okay, yeah, it was like a 16-sided die.
Yeah, like a 16-sided die.
So we use it for the like if I bounce it, it's going to go a different direction every time. But in your case, we used it because there were numbers on it. So I would toss it to you, and then I needed you to tell me what the number was that was closest to you. So now, instead of just tracking a color that's coming towards you that you have to get your hand lined up to grasp, this ball is moving, and you have to use your eyes to focus in and stabilize on a number to tell me right before you catch it.
Yeah, and that is like when we did, hold on, I'll think of it, convergence.
So it does involve convergence. Very good.
Yeah, so it was like something coming towards me. But one of the interesting things that I noticed there, and I think this is going to be on one of our videos, our little short videos, when I went to catch the ball, like when I went to catch it, like it was all blurry. It was all and I didn't see anything, and the numbers were just all spinning around. But as soon as I decided to reach up and catch it, as soon as that decision was made, the number that was closest to me, that was facing me, like instantly popped into vision. It was like my eyes focused, like all the surrounding peripheral vision like honed down to one target fixation. And I was able to see the number very clearly, and I don't think I dropped the ball any.
No, I don't think so. But the part I was interested in is on my side, I want your eyes to work really hard to follow something in that visual field. So if we want your right eye to be more successful with tracking or pursuits in that range, I want you to be really attentive to finding that number that I told, whatever number was going to be coming towards you as I threw the ball at you. So you're right, it's a convergence exercise because you're tracking something coming towards you, but your eyes are working harder than just tracking something coming towards you. They're trying to find that visual acuity on whatever happens to be facing you out of that cue ball. So you got to work harder than just tracking something coming towards you.
Gotcha.
And again, we had you do that standing on the Eric, so you're again worried about your balance, your body position. All that stuff really helps to make sure it's as comprehensive as possible.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned about your curiosity if this would improve how you could interact with VR in video games.
Well, not exactly VR.
Okay.
So it would be like on this screen, okay, and you would just be essentially just playing a video game, playing Fortnite, which is it's kind of like a first-person shooter game. You're kind of pointing at targets that are far away and are moving, and you have to shoot them, and the last person.
How does the computer know where you're pointed?
So I think the video game, pretty much, you're always pointed at the center of the screen.
Oh, okay, so you have to orient the screen towards whatever.
You have to orient the screen.
So it's kind of like a VOR cancellation, maybe. But either way, I'm just curious as to what that entails, because you notice some carryover right away.
Right away, right. So for all the Fortnite players out there, this therapy that I did, literally, like, it helps me get better. I could see things faster. I could I did way better when I came home and played Fortnite that night. So that kind of blew me away.
And then we also retested your pursuits. So that initial testing of where you have to follow an object clockwise and counterclockwise, we retested that after we did your isolated training in the headset. And you got better.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild, because your brain injury was 9 years ago.
I mean, to be able to
elicit some change is pretty exciting.
Right, because that's not something that you know, like, not something that you would notice. Like, you know, if I was looking at, you know, Mr. Potato Head right there, I'm not going to notice that I'm off a little bit, or I'm like, that's not something that you consciously notice.
Right.
Right.
You just notice the fatigue or the strain that might come with not having your eyes coordinated at all times.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially in that instance of when you're moving to follow something.
Like when you're driving. Like, I almost hit a deer this morning. Like, he was kind of camouflaged with the woods and the I was driving over this little spot of, like, it's kind of like blocks in the road that they put in the road, and
he was at work or on the way to work?
At work. So
okay.
So it was on the way to work, but it was on the base that I work on.
Okay.
And it has there's a part where there's these, like, brown stone blocks that you drive over, and it's just, like, no big deal. And this deer was walking right across it, and I didn't see it. And I had just taken off, like, a lot of times I'll use my glasses to drive to work in the morning because my eyes just aren't as sharp. And I think that when they did my LASIK eye surgery, they just didn't get it exactly right. So I don't need glasses. I can see perfectly fine. And if I have, it's hard to see, like, if like my radio or numbers, I really can't see that with my glasses on because it makes it blurry. But I can see, like, far vision, you know. And I had just taken them off because it was, like, getting light out. And I had just taken them off, and I put them down, and I was kind of like, my eyes were coming into, like, not 2020. They were just kind of, you know, 2015, I don't know, 2025. Just a little bit not perfect. And right at that time, like, the deer was walking across the road, and I seen it at the last second. I was like, oh, yeah. I mean...
Did you hit it?
No.
All right.
No, I was good, like,
good.
30, 40 feet away.
Okay, good. So, yeah, the fact that you had a change from just one isolated intervention was a very exciting thing. And an important part to address that out of that is... would you get better at it just by practicing it? Right.
So that was a big conversation today at work.
Yeah.
They were like, well, yeah, but...
The learning effect.
The learning effect.
Yes. And that's a really important question. So if we were to give somebody that same test over and over and over again, would they just happen to get better?
Right. That was the question.
So to some capacity, you could say yes. If you just teach the test, you would get better. However, it would take a tremendous amount of exposure to the test for your brain to start rewiring in that way. So on my side of things, I know for certain that if I'm off the mark, let's say for instance I have somebody who's like 2 weeks after a concussion, they come in and we test them, and there's multiple things to address to be able to figure out what we need to do to get this brain more organized, to get it more efficient. And say we try something, I want to see if it works. I retest them. It's just as bad as the first time I test them. Their eye movement is something that's really hard to compensate for if the wiring isn't perfect. So is there a learning effect? To some degree, you could say yes, but definitely not in your instance, you tested initially, I think we did it the week before, and then you were making a video out of it and you wanted a more clear version of what I was seeing on the tablet.
Right, yeah.
So a couple days later, without any intervention, we retested it just so that we could have the video of the tablet. So, like, Travis still had the VR headset on. I still took him through the whole test, and it was the same.
Right, no better at all.
Yeah. And then we did something to intervene about 4 or 5 days later. If we were just testing it, there wouldn't be a learning effect from you doing it on a Saturday, and then you did it again on a Tuesday, and then you didn't do it again until the following Saturday. that wouldn't necessarily be something we could say that's a learning effect, that's why it improved. It's more likely that the intervention was something that was able to elicit the change and improvement in both your clockwise and counterclockwise pursuits.
Right. So it's like something that's measurable.
Exactly. And like that goes in all directions. Like say for instance there's someone who's been out of work for, 8 months or more due to a concussion, and they're sending them over for an evaluation. The eyes really can't compensate one way or the other. They can't force themselves to be better because it's a lot of instinctual and reflex-driven eye movements, and they can't force themselves to be worse. So in other words, you can't really fake it.
Right, right.
Especially because we can see what you're doing in the headset. If you're closing your eyes the whole time, we can see that part. So it is kind of a neat test in that way that the learning effect is not something that can dilute your results when you're doing something, intervene and then recheck to see if it was effective.
So I think maybe a good way to say that too is that sure, yeah, if you catch that thing for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're going to be really good at catching that thing 8 hours. You're going to be really good at that.
Yeah.
But will that correlate over into driving?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So like if you were to practice just one specific skill, is that going to carry over to other areas?
Right.
Yeah. And like that's a very important consideration in the rehab side of things is what we're doing to be able to help the bigger picture. Can we make sure that we're being variable enough to be able to instill carryover? So for instance, if we had just done the weird boomerang, catch this color, with no other integration, like no other cue that you had to pay attention to, or we didn't layer it to make it more difficult, then Travis might be just good at catching yellow when I say yellow.
Right.
Versus giving it all the other context so that way the brain is much more engaged to be able to integrate the wiring pattern. And then when you add all these other demands, that wiring pattern has to be more and more efficient for your brain to pay attention to all these other demands that I'm adding to it.
Yeah.
That's like the really, really cool side about training the brain.
Yeah. It's kind of like everybody thinks that like chess players, like people that play chess are super, super, super smart. But it's a lot of people who are analytical and like little details tend to be perceived as being smart, but they're smart in that thing. They're smart at playing chess. They're good at playing chess. They're not good. They might not be good at catching those things.
Yeah.
So
they might not be good at running a marathon.
Probably not.
Might not
or
jump
lifting
the highest.
Weights or
Yeah, the versatility is an important part, especially because we need carryover into the things that matter to you.
Right, carry over into my everyday activities. Me getting up and going to work and driving to work and coming home and not, being rage-filled because nobody knows how to drive and like can I use this to alter my mood maybe?
That's a good way to put it. And the fact that you brought up tonight that you felt like before your accident, you drove with excellent precision.
Perfect.
And then afterwards, you felt like a regular person.
A regular, normal person.
That has to take more time to be able to analyze what's happening visually.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
By improving how fast you can analyze visual information, in a sense, we're pushing you back towards more precise driving where you're more comfortable. Because before your accident, you weren't filled with anger, you weren't frustrated by other people, because you felt in control, because you could analyze information very quickly, visual information.
Right.
So right now, we're in this process of trying to train visual information integration, processing speed from visual information, and then visual stability, to be able to hopefully make you feel more like the precise driver, Travis. Now, that doesn't mean get back into racing. It doesn't mean go back onto motorcycle racing if you start to feel that way. But hopefully it can, like you said, improve your disdain and, emotions that come out with having to drive a longer commute to and from work. in crazy times.
My real goal is to not have to drive to work, is to be able to do this podcast and things like that full time. Because, I was saying last night, I did this a little bit last night, and, I'm just not the 9 to 5er. I'm more like the...
Yeah, but your job is too cool.
It's
getting there, I understand, is a headache, but if you were to go ask any kid what their dream job would be, a lot of people would describe what you do for a living every day.
Yeah, it is it's the coolest job ever. Yeah. And I like all the people I work with. Like, I don't have any people that I dislike. Like, that's a big thing, because...
That is a big thing, but you do cool stuff.
I do cool stuff.
So it's not that you don't want to work, you just want to have less of a headache getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think you have the sensory adaptation where, even though, that is cool, it is...
It's less cool to you?
It's less cool to me. It's less cool to me. I know people are always, new visitors that come there are super excited. And they're like, oh! And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome.
The thrill's worn off for you.
Yeah.
Picture it like you're bringing your 8-year-old nephew to work with you each day.
Yeah. So, it's still cool, though. There's still cool stuff that we do. I love it. I do. And I couldn't think of anything better. Well, if I,
You would miss that if you weren't.
I would. There's no doubt that I would miss it. I would still like to be a full-time podcaster, though, too. I think that's pretty neat. I think that's cool. But I'll tell you, this, I don't know, maybe because I've been doing that for 20 years, 24 years, maybe it's lost some challenge, It's I love a challenge. How excited was I when we were doing those challenges? I was like, yeah, let's go.
And you also commented on the part that I don't think people will realize when they see this, when they see the clips of what you're doing. It is exhausting to your brain.
It is.
You were just shocked by how much effort that took when, if you were to just explain to someone else, I just caught some things and threw some things back. But when you have all those visual demands, plus the concentration demands, plus the balance demands, your brain was tired.
Yeah, and very challenged. And I love a challenge. I love to be, I love to have something laid in front of me that I might not be able to do, and I got to work extra hard to accomplish. And then when I accomplish it, I feel great. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I think some of the best things that you can do is, lay out a mission that is very difficult, that you don't know if you're going to be able to do it, and then do it. There's not too much better than that. Lay out a mission, achieve it, even if it's something goofy,
Yeah, it's important to have goals. Well, like I said earlier, next time we'll talk about some of the other things that you did, and what the intention was behind it, what we were trying to train. And then you and I will have to get together again and go through another gamut of things to be able to improve what we're after based on those I think results.
Yeah, I'm excited.
See if we can get you a little bit more comfortable driving.
I'm excited to do more challenging things.
Yeah.
I asked her if there was one where she threw knives at me, and I had to catch the knives before they, got me.
We will do one on a roof. We can do that.
That's what I'm talking about.
We'll have Annie there.
And then a little known, I was going to ask Abby. I was going to actually, in our text messages, I was going to send a Karate Kid reference when Daniel's son is training on, and most everybody knows this. Almost
everybody.
So Daniel's son is training he sees Mr. Miyagi, and these things are coming after, these big sword spikes are swinging down, and Mr. Miyagi is dodging them at the last second, and it's this training technique. And I was going to send a GIF of that, but Abby would have just looked at it what is he talking about? Because she's never seen the Karate Kid. Yeah. She's never seen. So I said that I was telling my wife about this. I said, Abby's never seen Ghostbusters or the Karate Kid, and there was another movie, and she's like, what? She's like, they're all dude movies, Travis. She's like, I was like, I don't think Abby watches any movies.
Yeah, I can't.
You're not a movie?
Remember. I mean, I watch Christmas movies, and I've certainly seen movies before, but I can't remember the last time I like went to a movie theater or sat down to watch a movie. I will watch the heck out of a documentary though.
Okay, documentary.
Yeah, so if Karate Kid was a documentary about being a Karate Kid, there's a better chance that I would see that reference.
It's kind of like that. What's one of your, give me something that you've seen. Documentary.
Documentary.
What's your favorite documentary?
Oof. I'd have to think about that and come back with an answer next week. There's so many good ones.
Okay. Give me like ones in your top 10.
I can't even think of names. So I'd have to go back and like watch what
I gotcha.
See what I've watched recently on Netflix to be able to find out what a good documentary was. But yeah, I'll find out what some of them were. There's so many that were decent ones about the whole opioid crisis in Purdue Pharma. That was fascinating. Okay, so the opioid crisis one. So I've been meaning to watch that one. I have not watched that yet. That was recommended to me from some people at work. So there's some documentary sides of it, which I really like to kind of give the ins and outs of like the whole business side of things and really what happened with the pharmaceutical industry at that time. And it's funny because at that time I have enough recollection of what it was like when you went to the doctor, and you know, I was young and might have had some orthopedic surgeries, and I remember how readily oxycodone was just handed out, and I now know what it's like for people that I see on an everyday basis after they've had a major surgery, what the process is like to get that same medication. So it's a lot more pertinent. So I really like documentaries that kind of explain those unanswered questions about why things had such a major pendulum swing and the different forces behind it and the decisions that were made and the influences that led to those decisions. But there's also a show about it called Dope Sick. Dope Sick. Right, yeah. That's probably what your friends were telling me to watch. That's what they were telling me to watch. I'll tell you what, it was really well done in terms of integrating facts. So I'll tell you, I remember one time I was when you talk about Dope Sick and people automatically prescribe just deviant, terrible people to people that do different types of drugs. And I was in Home Depot parking lot, me and my wife one time, and I seen this guy, and he was definitely on like something bad, like more than likely heroin, and he was like stumbling around, and like I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't come over here and ask for money. And he started to walk my way. It was still in my car, and he walked past me, right? And when he walked past me, like, I looked in his eyes, and he looked like back at my eyes, and like I seen normal person. Like it was like a normal human being. Like there was nothing bad about him. Like he just made some like wrong decisions. But he could have been anybody that was sitting at the lunch table at work with me. Like he was just like me. Mm-hmm. And like that hit me because they, you know, who am I to say that I didn't somehow get wrapped up into that, because I had plenty of friends that did, you know. So that was, I felt pretty bad for him. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, look at this guy. And then like when I seen him and I looked in his eyes, it was like, this is just a dude who has made some bad choices. Yeah. So that, I mean, if that movie or the show Dope Sick is kind of portrays something like that, yeah. Yeah, I think you'll like it, and it like I said, it just makes sense why things changed as drastically as they did in terms of how doctors prescribe, how people would have access, how easily it was for them to become addicted, and essentially it describes the whole, you know, doctors were the drug dealer. Well, were the doctors like getting paid, like by the big pharmacy to pump out these? You'll have to watch it. Oh, come on, Abs, you know that. It was the big thing is that it was insider information. It forced these folks that were the reps of pharmaceutical reps to instruct doctors that it was non-addictive, but they knew darn well it was. Oh, so Big Pharma was like, nah, it's not addictive. It's all good. And then how dare you not help your patient's pain?
Oh, how dare you not?
Yeah, if
wow.
your patient's in pain.
And so I imagine that most doctors have a personality of wanting to help, because that's why else would you become a doctor? If you have, you know, a compassionate, polite personality, you're going to be easily persuaded by people who say something like that. You know, you'll be like guilted. You could be almost be guilted into wanting to help your patient and through his pain. But like they become
just misled. But you'll have to watch it just because it makes more sense once you kind of understand who stood to benefit and why, and just they can't write stories as wild as what actually happens in real life.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Like I've said that many times. Like if you ever want to read a scary book, like make sure it is a nonfiction book, because like that is where all the scariness really happens in real life.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll come back next time and we'll talk about the second half of what Travis did. And then, like I said, Travis and I will have to get back together and try some more things and see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, we'll have to set up our next... Are we going to, like, is that at the clinic or is that...
It can be anywhere.
We should do it in, like... Because, like... Like, I showed my friend the video on my phone. I was like, yeah. He was like, dude, where were you? He was like, it looks depressive.
I told you that the clinic looks too clinical.
He was like, I was like, you know what, man? I was like, next time we should go and we should do it on like a mountainside or something, or by a river or
wherever you want.
Something cool, you know, something where we got a good background.
You were the one that wanted to go into the clinic, and I warned you that it looks a little clinical.
It does. It looked very clinical.
Yeah.
I thought that might be a good background, but I don't think it was. I think we should do it someplace like...
Anywhere.
Get maybe a bridge, like a big bridge in the background. We could have the bridge in the background, not on top of the bridge.
Some deer wandering around.
Some deer.
We're not live ready.
I don't know. I think we did pretty good. I think this is good.
We'll see how it sounds.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Thanks again for tuning in to Concussion. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to follow us and share it with someone you may think will find it useful. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For updates and behind-the-scenes content, check out our TikTok, Instagram, and X. Or join our growing community on Discord, where we dive deeper into concussion recovery and support each other along the way. All links are in the description, so see you there. And until next time, keep your head in the game and keep it protected.